The monastery of St. Lazarus stood isolated, its crumbling stone walls swallowed by the dense, ancient forest that surrounded it. Father Marcus stepped through the rusted iron gates, his boots crunching on the gravel path. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, and the faint echo of distant whispers seemed to linger in the wind. He adjusted the strap of his satchel, feeling the weight of the journal inside, a gift from Abbot Gregory, who had sent him here to investigate the disappearance of Brother Elias. Marcus was no stranger to darkness. Once a fervent believer, his faith had been eroded by years of witnessing suffering and unanswered prayers. His hands bore the scars of a man who had fought battles both spiritual and physical, and his eyes, though weary, still held a flicker of determination. He had come to St. Lazarus not out of duty, but out of a desperate need to find meaning in the chaos of his life. The monastery's interior was no less foreboding than its exterior. The halls were lined with faded tapestries depicting saints and sinners, their faces twisted in agony or ecstasy. Dust motes floated in the pale light that filtered through cracked stained glass windows, and the air was heavy with the scent of incense and mildew. Marcus made his way to the chapel, where he found a single candle burning on the altar. "Father Marcus," a voice called out, soft and trembling. He turned to see a young novice, his face pale and drawn. "I'm Brother Thomas. Abbot Gregory said you would come." Marcus nodded, his gaze sweeping the chapel. "Where is everyone else?" "Gone," Thomas replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "They left after Brother Elias disappeared. He was last seen entering the catacombs beneath the monastery. No one dared to follow him." Marcus frowned. Why would he go down there? Thomas hesitated, his eyes darting to the shadows. He was drawn to it. Said he heard voices calling to him. We tried to stop him, but he was determined. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He had encountered enough darkness in his life to recognize the signs of something unnatural. "Show me the entrance to the catacombs." Thomas led him to a narrow staircase hidden behind a tapestry. The air grew colder as they descended, the walls slick with moisture. At the bottom of the stairs, Marcus saw a heavy wooden door, its surface covered in strange symbols carved into the wood. "This is as far as I go," Thomas said, his voice trembling. "Please, Father, be careful. There's something down there, something evil." Marcus nodded, his hand tightening around the crucifix hanging from his neck. He pushed the door open, the hinges groaning in protest. The catacombs stretched before him, a labyrinth of tunnels lined with ancient bones. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the faint sound of whispers seemed to echo from the shadows. He lit a lantern and stepped inside, the light casting long, flickering shadows on the walls. As he ventured deeper, he noticed the symbols from the door repeated on the walls, their meaning unclear, but undeniably sinister. He opened the journal Abbot Gregory had given him, its pages filled with notes and sketches of the same symbols. The further he went, the more the whispers grew, coalescing into a single, chilling voice. "You cannot escape," it hissed. "The ritual demands a sacrifice." Marcus froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He turned, the lantern light revealing a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the darkness. It was tall and gaunt, its face obscured by a tattered nun's habit. Its eyes glowed faintly, and its presence seemed to drain the warmth from the air. "Who are you?" Marcus demanded, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his throat. The figure tilted its head, its voice a low, guttural growl. "I am the Shadowed One. You are not the first to come here, priest. You will not be the last." Before Marcus could respond, The figure vanished, leaving him alone in the suffocating darkness. He took a deep breath, his mind racing. The journal, the symbols, the entity, it was all connected. He needed to uncover the truth before it was too late. As he pressed on, he found a small alcove containing a crude altar. On it lay a dagger, its blade stained with dried blood, and a parchment covered in the same cryptic symbols. Marcus's hands trembled as he picked up the parchment, the weight of what he was facing settling over him like a shroud. The whispers returned, louder now, more insistent. The ritual demands a sacrifice. Marcus clenched his fists, his resolve hardening. He would not let this evil claim another soul. The catacombs seemed to stretch endlessly, their twisting passages a maze of darkness and despair. Father Marcus moved cautiously, the lantern's light barely piercing the oppressive gloom. The whispers followed him, their voices a cacophony of fear and temptation. He clutched the journal tightly, its pages filled with fragmented clues about the monastery's dark past. As he ventured deeper, he began to piece together the story. The monastery had once been a place of great power, its monks devoted to protecting an ancient relic, a shard of obsidian said to contain the essence of a malevolent spirit. Over time, the monks grew corrupt, using the relic to perform forbidden rituals in exchange for power. But the spirit demanded a price, a life for every ritual performed. The Shadowed One, Marcus realized, was the embodiment of that spirit, a twisted amalgamation of the monks who had succumbed to its influence. It had taken on the form of a nun, a perversion of the purity it once represented. Marcus's thoughts were interrupted by a faint moan. He followed the sound to a small chamber, where he found Brother Elias slumped against the wall. The young novice was barely conscious, his face pale and his eyes hollow. "Elias," Marcus said, kneeling beside him. "What happened to you?" Elias's voice was weak, his words slurred. It spoke to me, told me to come here, said I could save them." "Save who?" Marcus asked, though he already suspected the answer. "The others," Elias whispered. "The ones it took before me. They're still here, trapped. But the ritual, it needs a sacrifice to free them." Marcus's heart sank. He had feared as much. The Shadowed One was using Elias as a pawn, luring him into the catacombs to complete the ritual. But what was its endgame? Before he could ponder further, the lantern's light flickered, and the temperature in the chamber plummeted. The Shadowed One materialized before them, its form shifting and writhing like smoke. "You cannot save him," it hissed, its voice echoing in Marcus's mind. "The ritual must be completed. The sacrifice must be made." Marcus stood, shielding Elias with his body. "I won't let you take him." The entity laughed, a sound that sent shivers down Marcus's spine. "Then you will take his place." It lunged at him, its claws slashing through the air. Marcus raised the crucifix, the holy symbol glowing with a faint light. The Shadowed One recoiled, its form flickering like a dying flame. "You cannot defeat me," it snarled. "I am eternal." Marcus knew it was right. The crucifix would only hold it at bay for so long. He needed to find a way to end the curse, once and for all. He turned to Elias, who was now unconscious. "I'm sorry," he whispered, lifting the young novice onto his shoulders. "I'll get you out of here." As he retraced his steps, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. The Shadowed One followed, its presence a constant weight on his soul. Marcus knew he was running out of time. The final confrontation takes place in the hidden chamber with the altar. Marcus learns the truth about the Shadowed One and the ritual. He sacrifices himself to banish the entity, saving Elias, but leaving the monastery in ruins. The story ends with Elias escaping, carrying Marcus's journal and the unresolved mysteries of Saint Lazarus.